We're going to go ahead and call the meeting of the Bloomington City Council to order. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Mathey?
Here.
Councilmember Bolin?
Here.
Councilmember Milwambe?
Here.
Councilmember Emeg? Councilmember Painter?
Here.
Councilmember Carrillo?
Here.
Councilmember Crable?
Here.
Councilmember Bray?
Here.
Mayor Renner?
Here. Thank you very much. And we're going to start with proclamations and appointments. We'll start with the proclamations declaring October 20th, October 2019 National Community Planning Month. And I believe we have the ZBA chairperson, Victoria Harris, who's here to come forward to accept this. Come forward, Victoria. Thank you so much. Rarely. 98% of the time we don't. Anyway, we have declaring October 2019 National Community Planning Month. Whereas the month of October is designated by the American Planning Association as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States. And whereas community planning and planners help manage positive choices for how people work and live. Whereas community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine the future of their community. And whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month gives us the opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of members of the planning commissions and other citizen planners who have contributed their time and expertise to the improvement of the city of Bloomington. And whereas we recognize the many valuable contributions made by professional, community, and regional planners serving the city of Bloomington, and extend our heartfelt thanks for their continued commitment to public service by these professionals. Therefore, I, Terry Renner, Mayor of the City of Bloomington, hereby proclaim October 2019, finally got it right, as National Community Planning Month. Thank you so much, and thank you for all your service. Very much appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Do you want to say a few words?
I moved here.
You want to say a few words? Yeah.
Is it on? I moved here in '68 for 1 year. 50 years later, I'm glad I stayed. I was part of a great education system, and I want to support the education, the fine education my kids got, and the culture opportunities, the business opportunities, and I'm really happy to work. Zoning board was an odd fit for me, for someone who questions usually regulations and why they are and who they serve, but it's pretty careful organization, pretty careful considerations of what we do in businesses and residents and how it affects the people around it, and I'm very happy to participate in that.
Thank you. Thank you again, Victoria. Appreciate that. Next, we have World Polio Day, and I know that Ms. Julie Dobsky is in the audience to come forward to accept this. Thank you, Julie. Thank you again. Again, this is recognizing World Polio Day, October 24th, 2019. Whereas Rotary International, founded on February 23rd, 1905 in Chicago, Illinois, USA, is the world's finest and one of the largest nonprofit public service organizations. And whereas there are over 1.2 million Rotary club members comprised of professional and business leaders in over 35,000 clubs in 200 countries and geographic areas. And whereas the Rotary motto, service above self, inspires members to provide humanitarian service, encourage high ethical standards, and promote goodwill and peace in all the world. And whereas Rotary in 1985 launched Polio Plus and spearheaded the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, which today includes the World Health Organization, U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, UNICEF, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to immunize the children of the world against polio. And whereas to date, Rotary International has contributed more than $1.8 billion, that's B, billion, dollars from the United States dollars, and countless volunteer hours to the protection of more than 2.5 billion children in 122 countries. And whereas Rotary is currently working to raise an additional $50 million per year, which would be further leveraged for maximum impact by an additional $100 million annually from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And whereas Rotary District 6490 of Central and Eastern Illinois has supported these efforts with its membership, time, treasures, and talents, and whereas these efforts are providing much needed operational support, medical, personal, laboratory equipment, educational materials for health workers and parents, and whereas polio cases have dropped by 99.9% since 1988, and the world stands on the threshold of eradicating the disease, and whereas in addition, Rotary has placed a major role in decisions by donor governments to contribute more than $8 billion to the effort, whereas the more than 1,900 Rotary club members in more than 44 clubs throughout Rotary District 6490 sponsor service projects to address such critical issues as poverty, hunger, illiteracy, and the environment in local communities and abroad. Therefore, I, Terry Renner, do hereby proclaim October 24th, 2019 as World Polio Day and encourage all citizens to join Rotary in fighting for a polio-free world. Thank you so much, and I appreciate it. Well, thank you, Julie. Let's see. Next we have Indigenous Peoples Day proclamation, and we have Tori Moray. Is Tori here? Come forward. Thank you. Thank you so much. And just as I understand, we will be mailing this.
Oh, okay.
That's the correct one?
I can also give it to him on November 9th, either one.
Whatever the preference, I was just told I was mailing it, but if you can hand deliver it,
You
I
want
think that
hand
might be
deliver it?
better.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, let's see what the it is. All right. Recognizing Indigenous Peoples Day in the City of Bloomington, October 14th, 2019. Whereas the City of Bloomington recognizes that the indigenous peoples of the lands that would later become known as the Americas have occupied these lands since time immemorial, and whereas the city recognizes the fact that the United States is built upon the homelands and villages of indigenous peoples, and whereas the city recognizes the value of many contributions made to our community through indigenous peoples' knowledge, labor, spirituality, technology, science, philosophy, arts, and the deep cultural contribution that substantively shape the character of Bloomington, and whereas the City of Bloomington has a responsibility to oppose systematic racism towards indigenous peoples in the United States, which perpetuates high rates of poverty and income inequality, exacerbates disproportionate health, education, and social stability. And whereas Indigenous Peoples Day was first proposed in 1977 by a delegation of Native nations to the United Nations, sponsored International Conference on Discrimination Against Indigenous Populations in all the Americas, whereas the United States endorsed the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, the Declaration, on December 16th, 2010, and the Declaration recognizes that indigenous peoples have suffered from historic injustices as a result of alter aliyah, their colonization, and disposition of their lands, territories, and resources. And whereas Article 15 of the Declaration recognizes the right of indigenous peoples to the dignity and diversity of their cultures, traditions, histories, aspirations, which shall be appropriately reflected in education and public information, and places an obligation on states to take effective measures in consultation and cooperation with Indigenous peoples concerned to combat prejudice and eliminate discrimination and to promote tolerance, understanding, and good relations among Indigenous peoples and all other segments of society. Now therefore be resolved that the City of Bloomington shall recognize Indigenous Peoples Day on the second Monday in October. And be it further resolved that Indigenous Peoples Day shall be used to reflect upon the ongoing struggles of Indigenous peoples on this land and to celebrate the thriving culture and value that Indigenous peoples have added to our city and nation. Be it further resolved, City of Bloomington encourages other businesses, organizations, and public institutions to recognize Indigenous Peoples Day. Thank you so much, Gloria. Oops. Thank you. Did you want to say a few words?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I've been working with Lester Randall, Tribal Chairman of the Kickapoo Tribe in Kansas, on a digital interactive that will be opening in our newest exhibit called A Community in Conflict, and it opens November 9th. So he'll be here for the exhibit opening, and I'll give it to him when he's here for that. Lester sent me the following statement to read here tonight. The painful history of Native Americans in this country is one that cannot be erased or forgotten, but the narrative of those experiences can be reshaped, and it's imperative that the truth be acknowledged. By changing the second Monday in October to Indigenous Peoples Day, communities demonstrate their awareness of the rich history, culture, and traditions of the Indigenous peoples of America and the resident Indian tribes in our state. Lester Randall, Tribal Chairman.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks. And then we have, last but not least, proclamation recognizing the 100th anniversary of the Bloomington Normal Water Reclamation District, sometimes affectionately known as BNWRD. And steps forward. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Proclamation recognizing the 100th anniversary of the Bloomington Normal Water Reclamation District, BNWRD. Whereas the City of Bloomington wishes to congratulate the Bloomington Normal Water Reclamation District on the occasion of its 100th anniversary and of its founding, and whereas in 1919, residents of Bloomington Normal voted to form a sanitary district to treat wastewater in the two communities, in 1928, a new state-of-the-art plant began service. Throughout the years, was upgraded and expanded, whereas in 1990, the district was renamed the Bloomington Normal Water Reclamation District by district trustees. In 2005, the J. Michael Callahan Southeast Wastewater Plant, a second wastewater treatment facility, opened to serve the north, east, and southeast metro areas of Bloomington Normal and portions of the Village of Downs. And whereas the Bloomington Normal Water Reclamation District's mission is to recycle wastewater safely, efficiently, and economically, and to improve the quality of life, maintain the public health, and protect the environment in the Bloomington Normal area. And whereas the Bloomington Normal Water Reclamation District has created and currently maintains two conservation environmental sites in McLean County, the Kenneth L. Schroeder Wildlife Sanctuary is located near the southeast plant and is open to the public. The E. Burton Mercier Conservation Area is near Shirley, and whereas the Bloomington Normal Water Reclamation District has been nominated for a number of awards, the West Bloomington plant has been nominated for Plant of the Year by the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency multiple times and was selected as the Group 1 Plant of the Year by the statewide Illinois Association of Water Pollution Control Operators 4 times. In February 2019, the Southeast plant received the Group 1 Plant of the Year award from the Illinois Association of Water Pollution Control Operators for excellence in aesthetics, cleanliness, operations, and compliance with state wastewater treatment standards. Therefore, be it recognized that we congratulate the Bloomington Normal Water Reclamation District on the occasion of its 100th anniversary. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You want to say a few words?
I'd like to thank the mayor and the council for this recognition. And I'd like to invite everybody in this room and in the public to attend our open house Saturday from 10 to 2 at the West Plant on 2015 West Oakland Avenue. We'll have tours and a lot of historical displays that have gone on in this community for the last 20 years. Again, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have if you are here, would you please stand and be recognized? This is just a list of the appointments that were approved at the last council meeting, September 23rd, 2019. All these are to the Cannabis Task Force: Jen Carrillo, Julie Emig, Greg Scott, Aaron Veerman, Dee Urban, Jan Lancaster, Deb Carter, Linda Foster, Olivia Butts, and John Walsh. Thank you all for being willing to serve. We appreciate it. Next, we have a presentation of Bloomington firefighters who've completed a one-year probationary period. And we have Nicholas Rockus and Justin Sullivan. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to our distinguished fire chief. Thanks. Come on forward, Brian and others. And please, everyone, come on up behind us for photo ops.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. I'm proud to introduce to you two firefighters who have completed their one-year probationary period on October 1st. These guys worked hard this last year completing their probationary task manual, which has prepared them for this appointment. First, I have Justin Sullivan on my right. Justin started with Bloomington Fire Department October 1st, 2018. Justin is originally from Winona, Illinois, but most recently lived in Peru, Illinois, with his wife Molly and their two children, Chloe, age 4, and Maggie, age 1. Justin is the son of Danny and Kathy Sullivan, brother of Kylie and Jeremy Sullivan. Justin started in the fire service at a young age, following the footsteps of his father. Before Bloomington Fire, Justin previously was dedicated 7-year member of the Peru Fire Department and Putnam County EMS for 8 years. Justin is looking forward to being part of Bloomington Fire Department and serving the citizens for many years to come. Justin would like to thank his family, friends, and brothers for all their support over the past years. Also, Justin has some family members in the audience. Would you please stand up? And then on my left, I have Nicholas Rockus. Nicholas Rockus. He is from Frankfort, Illinois, joined today by his mother, Vicki, father, Tony, older sister, Sam, and grandmother, Carol. Nicholas started in the fire service age 15 as a cadet with the Frankfort Fire Protection District, following in his grandfather's footsteps, who was a Chicago fireman for 30 years. Nicholas has worked as a firefighter paramedic with the Posen and Palos Fire Departments before being hired here. He looks forward to a long and rewarding career with Bloomington Fire Department. Nicholas, and you have family members here as well. Would you please stand? Thank you for coming.
Nope, we can do that. Perfect.
All right, so what we'll do is I'll say I, and then when we pause, that's when you'll say your name, and after that you'll repeat after me, okay? I. Nope. Having been appointed to the office of firefighter in the city of Bloomington, in the county of McLean, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of firefighter according to the best of my ability, so help me God. All right, done. And if you'll come around here and sign these for me, please. All right. And if you'll sign both sides, one will be for me. All right. There you go. Yes, please. Congratulations.
You never feel safer than when they're all lined up behind us.
Especially for cops. Next, we do have a public comment, and public comment is up to 3 minutes. And our general policy is, of course, not to respond to public comment. If you do want immediate answers, or you want to engage in some Q&A or questions about anything that's on the agenda or that's not on the agenda, every Friday before a regular city council meeting, for 6.5 years now, I've had a mayor's open house, and you can sit around the fishbowl back there and ask whatever questions that you'd like, and hopefully we can at least get you answers to whatever questions or problems that you might have. So again, this is your opportunity to primarily give opinions. Our policy is not to respond. And we have 2 people, and that is Serena Fish and Cristo Ortiz Palafox. Thank you. Start with Serena and then go to Cristo.
Good evening. I am Serena Fish. I just want you to all know how impressed I was, at least in our area, with the bulk pickup. We were scheduled for a certain time period. They were there. In fact, they were there just a little too early from my point of view. But anyway, and it was like bam, 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 right down the street. So I want to give Mr. Karsh and his department kudos for a job well done. The other part of my 3 minutes is I'm going to let my constituent here do most of the talking, but I'm also asking that you pull item I from the consent agenda concerning TVO. We've had numerous problems with him in our residential neighborhood, and there are already been numerous problems with him in the second location, and I would like for you to reconsider and ask for some more data before you make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Cristo.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mayor. I would like to pass out some photos that I took of Eric's 2. I'm here to talk to you, the Council, regarding that, if it's okay to pass them out.
Yes.
So my name is Chris Ortiz Palafox. I'm the hotel manager at Country Inn and Suites located at 923 Maple Hill Road. I do share that block with 2 other businesses, 919 Maple Hill Road, which is Ramada, and 921, which is Eric's 2. Prior to Eric's moving in, it was cousins, and we had a great relationship with them. When Eric's 2 was open, that's when the problem started. I did speak to the Liquor Commission meeting, the Liquor Commissioner in July at one of the meetings. I did present some details. Mayor, you were absent that day, but I did present some information, and at that meeting, the commissioner decided to table the vote, and they did ask Mr. Eric to please work with the hotel managers and come up with a solution and compromise. We have yet to meet with him. We have yet to speak to him. We are willing to talk to him, but he has failed to comply with that request. I did miss the last meeting. I was confused with the date. I thought it was the 3rd Tuesday of the month, and it was actually the 2nd Tuesday of the month. So I came to find out that the Liquor Commissioner did
approve a permit and send it to the council tonight. So I'm here to ask that you please pull the agenda on 7I off of the agenda and send it back to the commissioner so I can have an opportunity to present my case. I have two concerns with the permit, one being safety and one being noise complaints. Recently in the past few weeks, I have seen on social media and around town flyers promoting Epic Fridays at Eric's, the Bloomington Normal's premier Friday night, every Friday $5 cover, music, playing the hottest R&B, hip-hop, top 40, Latin, and old school. I did not know that when Eric was going to open the restaurant there that he was going to be turned into a nightclub. And if I would have known that from day one, I would have been here from day one and opposing that permit. Secondly, I'm also concerned with the noise. I'll quickly end with this. There was a guest who stayed with us on August 31st, and there was a party going on that evening at Eric's, and he left a review. He actually emailed me, and he gave me permission. I do have his information if anybody would like to verify this information. But he said, the hotel is great. The bar next door made my Saturday night terrible. Our room was right next to the side by the bar, Eric's too. The bass on the music is impossible to get any sleep from 11:30 to 3 a.m. It was topped off by two women from the bar screaming at each other in the parking lot around 12 a.m. Having my wife and two grandsons with me made it worse. So I have to respond and take care of my guests. So I just ask that you please pull this and give me more time to present to the Liquor Commission the concerns and also to speak to Scott Black, who is not here today as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We move right along then to our consent agenda. Are there any items that any members of the council would like to have pulled from the consent agenda?
7I.
7I. Okay. Alderwoman Carrillo?
7D.
7D. Councilmember Bowles?
7G and H.
7G and H.
7L.
7L. Okay. I'm going to take these then in the order in which they were pulled. Item 7I. Councilmember Craybill?
Thank you, Mayor. I think from the public comment and in my review for 7I, there were complaints by both hotel manager, general managers, as well as a resident with regard to Eric Twos, and I think it would be a good idea to send this back to the Liquor Commission for additional comment from those business owners and others, and I make such a motion.
Okay. Is there a second to Councilmember Crabill's motion?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Boland. Any further discussion on that issue? Okay. Go ahead and vote. Aye would be to send this back to the Liquor Commission. Okay. The motion carries 8-0. There are no nays to announce, Madam Clerk. Thank you very much, Councilmember Craybill. We're going to move to 7D. And
Mayor?
I believe, oh, I'm sorry.
Don't we normally do the rest of the consent agenda before we do the stuff that we pulled off of them?
Yeah, we should approve the consent agenda first.
Oh, do the entire consent agenda except those items. You were right.
Yeah.
Oh, bad mayor. Okay. Yes. Okay, so can we do that? Thank you. You appreciate that. Can we have a motion then to approve all of the items except for 7I, which we voted on, and 7D, 7G, H, and L?
I would like to make such a motion, Mayor.
I would like to second such a motion.
Okay. Motion made by Councilmember Milawamwe and seconded by Councilmember Carrillo. If everyone will go ahead and vote on on approving this with the exception of those items. Okay. Motion carries 8-0. There are no nays to announce, Madam Clerk. Now we will go back, thank you again, Councilmember Matthey, to Councilmember Carrillo. And you had pulled item 7D, as I understand?
Yes, and Councilmember Crable and Tim and I have been corresponding about this, so I'm going to turn it over to him. But my reason for pulling it is seeing that there was a local company that had bid on this and whose bid was not accepted. And I have consistently been pulling items like this because I really do want to see us move towards making sure that our contracts are going to local businesses, even if sometimes it's a little bit more expensive. So that's my reason for pulling it, but I'll turn it over to Tim so he can tell us what's going on.
Mayor and Council, I was going to make the request that this one be tabled to Alderwoman Carrillo's comments, both her and Alderman Crable. We had some back and forth aldermanic questions. While this might not have a local preference allowance to it because it was an RFP versus a bid, in the discussion today, found out that the state of Illinois weighed in and are the ones that required us to put this as an RFP. And then also will not take anything less than the lowest responsible bidder if we expect reimbursement for this. And I say all of this, there may be nothing to it, but I just want to learn more and just ran out of time today. So I want to understand the state of Illinois component to this and would request that it be tabled for now, please.
Okay.
And Tim, just one more question. If this wasn't something that had to do with the state of Illinois reimbursing us, does each department then have discretion about how they do, which bids they do or don't accept, or are they required by some statute or ordinance to go with the lowest bid even if it is an out-of-state or out-of-town company?
We do have a local preference ordinance. It does not apply to all the business of the city. But as a staff recommendation, we typically will recommend the lowest responsible bidder. And if council makes a decision that they want to pull that, discuss what a local preference might mean, we entertain that. But to your question, the local preference that we currently have in place does not always apply to all the business of the city, but staff will, as a rule, take the lowest responsible bid, and that is the staff recommendation.
And there is an allowance. Is the allowance, and I'm looking at Jeff, is it 10% for a local preference, or is it 8?
It depends on the cost of the contract.
The cost of the contract, okay.
It varies, goes up to 5%.
And we passed that 2015, I believe? Correct. Okay, thank you. Councilmember Craybill.
Yes, just a couple of things to add. Just a point, this is not necessarily just the city spending more money because of a local contractor. We have the local preference policy because spending money internally with internal businesses has its own economic effect that wouldn't be the case necessarily with an out-of-community business. And then one of the things you had mentioned to me, Tim, was that this local vendor that submitted the bid did not indicate it was a local bid. And I'm just wanting to know, do businesses in the community know to do that when they make bids? Is that something that's common knowledge for them to do?
I think we learned that in the bid information, the location of the business, and we have that level of understanding, that our procurement folks know to apply if it meets the criteria for the local preference ordinance that was adopted in 2015.
Thank you. Is there a motion then to table this?
I move that we table.
Motion by Councilmember Carrillo. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Milawambwe. Any further discussion on that? If everyone will go ahead and vote, I vote would be to table this. Motion carries 8-0. There are no nays to announce, Madam Clerk. And then we move right along to Councilmember Boland, who pulled item 7G and H.
I'll be voting in favor of this. I just want some clarification. And it's a large amount of money, so the citizens sometimes are concerned about that. Sewer, of course, is very important, and I do know that this has been going on for a while, and the sewer rates went up and will continue to go up. I just have a question as to who is paying for the sewer that will be addressing the water reclamation district, because that's adding $250,000 to the cost. That's what it appears.
Okay. Mr. Gleason, or do you want, what?
And I want to understand the question, though, Alderwoman Boland. Ask me again one more time, because I might take this a direction that you weren't intending by your question.
Well, I guess it's because I don't understand. The original budget for this year was $2 million, but I guess the cost of the job is a little bit extra, so it went up to 2.492 million. But in the packet, the water reclamation district has a cost of $300,000. So who is paying for that cost? Is it because we pay taxes for the reclamation district, and then the sewer fees go for the sewer project? So where does that money come from?
I'm going to, and I'm glad I asked for clarification, because I would have taken this a different direction with how we got here tonight. But I'm going to ask Public Works Director to respond to that specific question.
Money.
Well, it is, and it is a good question. That is going to be paid out of the Sewer Enterprise Fund. Those are monies that are collected from the sewer rates that we have, and all of that is intended to just maintain our existing sewer system. In this case, that was H2S, hydrogen sulfide damage that was done, and we want to make sure that it's repaired properly. That is done by lining that. The lining, whenever you do that, the sewer lining, that is an inert material, and so that hydrogen sulfide does not impact that. In addition, we've taken measures so that the lift station that we're kind of holding some of that sewage is, which is not very fun to say, but it is. So we're treating that. So we eliminate the problem on the front end as well.
That's not the question.
Money is coming from is the sewer enterprise
Well, there's
fund.
two different items.
Yes.
There's the G, which has to do with the reclamation district, and the H, which has to do with the lining of the sewers. And 7G has a cost listed at $300,000 over and above.
My
and my
apologies,
question
I
is
understand.
that fund coming out of the reclamation district, or is it coming out of the sewer fund?
I understand your question now.
Okay.
My apologies. Out of the almost $2.5 million, that 300,000 plus comes out from the almost 2.5 million. So the money that's used to line that sewer comes out of the contract 7H. Is that the answer? That's, I think, what you're asking? Where does that 300-some thousand dollars come
Right.
from?
Is it coming out of the taxes that we pay to the reclamation district, or is it coming out of the fees that we pay to the sewer?
The latter, the fees that
Okay.
go toward the sewer.
Okay. But that sewer benefits the reclamation district?
Well, it makes them whole. So from a standpoint of they have their sewer pipe, and so this is making sure that the sewage that was coming in, that any damage that was done, makes that sewer, the sewer pipe whole for them. Makes them to where it's in good condition.
Okay.
Jim, if I may, you're saying that we potentially caused damage to their pipe, and we're trying to fix the damage we might have caused.
That is correct.
Okay.
Thanks, Bro. I was confused, sorry.
My apologies for misunderstanding the original question.
Okay. Thank you. Is there a motion then on this item?
I'll move to,
The items, I'm sorry, the two of them that were pulled. Excuse me.
I'll move to accept as presented.
G and H.
Second.
Okay, it's seconded by Councilmember Emig. Any further discussion? Okay, if everyone will go ahead and vote on this
I
item.
actually have a question really quick. Jeff, do we need to take two separate votes? No, I do. Okay, all right, sorry, thanks, just want to clarify.
Mhm. Okay. Both items, G and H, pass. They were passed unanimously 8-0. Thank you very much. Okay. Now we go to item 7L, and I believe that was Councilmember Matthey.
Mayor, I'm a member of Sunrise Rotary, and I need to recuse, and I think that council members Emig and Crable also need to.
Okay. All right. Recusing yourselves. We still have a quorum. Yeah. Okay, yeah. We'll call you back in an hour. No, no. Is there a motion or discussion on this item?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Carrillo. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm going to take the second of Councilmember Painter.
Wow. You are discriminating on seconds.
Well, at least it's not first. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, if everyone will go ahead and vote.
I'll look it up.
Motion carries 5-0. There are no nays to announce, Madam Clerk. Okay. Okay. My cough got better and you don't. Okay, thank you very much. At this point, we move right along to our regular agenda, and it's presentation of the Illinois Law Enforcement Accreditation Program to the Police Department as requested by the Police Department. And we have a brief presentation and a brief council discussion. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Mr. Gleason.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm going to call up Chief Donath. Come on up. I know A.C. Scott's going to take care of this. And a familiar face that I know, retired Chief Brian Fingal from Bartonville Police Department. This presentation that's coming before Council and the community tonight is quite an accomplishment on the part of the Bloomington Police Department. This has been, I believe, a couple-year process that's been in play, and it's been finalized, and we're at the point where they receive accreditation from this organization. This is more than just a piece of paper. This is about adopting a philosophy and a practice by the Bloomington Police Department, and this will be ongoing. So it really is quite the honor and recognition. Guys?
Mayor, City Council, my name is, like I said, Brian Fingal with the Illinois Chiefs. I'm here tonight to present this to the department, and as City Manager Gleason said, we just don't hand this out. There's only 67 agencies in the state of Illinois that currently have this Tier 1 accreditation. So you can be proud of the police department. As he said, it's a lot of work, dedication, and commitment to the program, and you meet all the criteria. So it's a pleasure tonight to award this to the Bloomington Police Department, and you can be truly proud that they've accomplished this achievement. And I'll let them, if they want to talk a little bit about it.
I don't really have anything else to add. It was a lot of work, and we're very proud to accept the accreditation.
Okay, come on up. Congratulations.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you very much.
Could we ask a few questions?
Absolutely.
Not to belabor
even
this.
budgeted.
Yes, okay, thank you. So I just wanted to know what sort of things went into the process of accreditation, meetings and evaluation and things like that, if you could talk about it a little bit.
For Tier 1 accreditation, there are 67 tasks that have to be evaluated. So what we do is we gather all of our policies that speak to those things, or we look at ones where we don't necessarily do those things, like one that we didn't do is roadblocks. We don't do roadblocks. So we were able to pull that one, but all of our other ones we had to bring up to standard to what ILEAP wants to see in those standards, so we had to rewrite a number of policies, had to create a couple of policies, and then once that's all done, it goes to the accrediting agency, and they do a paper review of it, and then once that's completed and they're satisfied with that, they come to the police department and they're here for a 2-day assessment where they look at all the different areas, and then they file a report with the accrediting agency, they review the report, and then they either award or don't award.
And how long does the process take altogether?
I can only speak for how long it took our process. I started the process under Chief Hefner.
Okay.
I continued it under Chief Wheeler, and I finished it right before Chief Wheeler left.
Okay.
So it took us probably a couple of years, but there was a lot of other projects that came in and sidelined my attention at the time.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Other questions? Comments? Again, congratulations. We appreciate all you do. Thank you. Okay, at this point, I'll turn this over to our city manager. City manager discussion.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We have some of the events that are going on here in the city of Bloomington. And downtown, of special note, an expanded Halloween event that's going to occur both, there we go, on October 25th and 26th. I know Melissa Hahn, our economic development director, has reached out to the elected officials and asked if you guys want to participate, hand out some candy, and I know there's a lot of takers for that. So just givers, rather, not takers. But it's an expanded event downtown, and we'll be talking about it next week at the next council meeting leading up to the 25th and 26th. Go for it, Scott. And then the other events around the community, but also additionally, one that I wanted to comment to, ISU hockey at the arena. Division I hockey. It's a great time. So if folks are interested in that, check our website or check ISU's website as well. But there's a number of things going on in the community. And I actually, in the past, I skip over it too quick, so that's my fault. I'm going to take a little bit more time from now on. One thing I wanted to share, and that actually piggybacks off of Serena Fish's public comments. The City Fall Bulk Waste Collection is finishing up tomorrow morning. City crews were on schedule throughout the collection until today, where a high brush volumes left a couple of subdivisions to be finished in the morning. We'll compare, where we stood this year with the amount we picked up, how soon we picked up, and compare that to past years, and make that a report to council as well once we have time to assess what we did this year. And then I think that'll do it for me. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gleason. Appreciate everything you do, too. I just wanted to say what a great day yesterday was, where we had many of the Rivian vehicles in Uptown Square being highlighted, and certainly it'll be really, really important for our entire community. And I was never one who considered buying a truck. I probably still won't, but they go 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. There's no torque, right? And they literally make your breakfast for you. There's one that you pull out and you can cook. The other one, there's a camper attached to it. They were really amazing vehicles. But certainly it's not just the jobs and the immediate spillovers, but it's the broader implications for us being a community on the move and a dynamic, changing community where we've got lots of different, new cutting-edge technologies and industries. I do know that when I was at the U.S. Conference of Mayors, there were several people who had come up to me and said, "Oh, aren't you, were Rivians coming in?" I said, "Well, it is Bloomington normal, of course." But so certainly Rivian has been on the trucks that are going to be produced here, been on the cover of Motor Trend, Car Driver magazine, and so we're going to definitely be getting some national publicity out of this, and it's the kind of thing that we want to use to leverage to get even more investment and to get people to stay here in our community. So that's all I have. Council member comments. Council member Painter.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind everybody that the BHCC Mental Health Forum is this Thursday from 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. It's free and open to the public, and there's free parking at the Marriott where it's going to be held. We have a great lineup of speakers this year, and trauma is the focus. If you want a free box lunch, you need to register, though. You can go to their website or their Facebook page and find out how to do that. Otherwise, you don't have to register, but they would prefer that you do, just so they have plenty of room. So it should be a real interesting day. Thanks.
Thank you. Awesome. Councilmember Emig, we'll go this way, and then we'll go back around. Yeah.
I just want to give a shout out to the WBRP bed blitz that happened last Saturday. I believe they built over 100 beds, and it's just a great demonstration of what can happen in a very concrete way when our community comes together. So I just wanted to acknowledge that contribution.
Thank you. So now you're trying to get in at the last moment. Okay, all right. Go ahead.
All right, just a quick question for Tim. For the Halloween festivities, are we supposed to dress up? I know we're pretty scary as council members, but
Yes.
yeah. Okay, I don't know.
Halloween, dude.
I'll come as me. I'm a pretty scary
Totally
guy.
your choice.
I don't know. Talk to your barber. Maybe he can fix that. Sorry, Councilmember, Bolin and then Matthew. We'll go around.
Yeah, I just want to comment about one of the more serious things that we have to do as a council member. Several of us attended the Friends of the BCPA fundraiser, and I had a lot of fun. We dressed up in costumes, and
Right, you were.
it may be in the flyer that Vicki Tilton puts out in the future. So, thank you.
Sure. Yeah, that was fantastic. Thank you for mentioning that. Councilmember Matthew.
I just wanted to give a shout out to the Bloomington Fire Department. We had a transformer explode downtown and 8-foot flames shooting out of the sidewalk. And the fire department took care of that and made sure everybody was safe, and Ameren was down there. It made for a very eventful Friday downtown. While I was trying to pack for FlatCon, which is the second thing I'm going to talk about. FlatCon was our local board gaming convention, and we set new attendance records this year, and we had hundreds of gamers from outside of the community coming to Bloomington for the entire weekend to play games the entire time, so it's lots of fun. Which leads me to my third thing is we are I'm on the committee organizing the Route 66 esports tournament in January, and that is expanding even bigger than last year because now it's merging with the Bloomington Normal Video Game Convention, and possibly also an Illinois State University programming, they call it a game jam to develop games over the course of the weekend. So it's a gaming night for me here at the City Council announcements. But I'll also give out one more shout out is this Sunday at the BCPA is Beautiful, the Carole King story. And if you like any of the music from the 50s and 60s, you probably have no idea how many of those songs she wrote. And the musical is amazing. I had the opportunity to see it before. So if you need something incredible to do on Sunday, you should check that play out.
Thank you. That's a great testimonial. You must be in business. Councilmember Bray and Crable and Carrillo.
Thank you, Mayor. And I also wanted to comment about the great job the Friends of the BCPA did in executing on the fundraiser for the Creativity Center. And that's just an amazing example of how the public-private partnership can work and be successful and a lot of fun at the same time. And dressing up was fun, and it was great to see so many community leaders out supporting that great cause. And then on Saturday, the Humane Society did a very fun fundraiser. I think they called it slogging, where there was a small amount paid so that you could kind of run to the end of the block and back and, high-five yourself for a small donation to benefit the Humane Society. So that was a lot of fun, a really great turnout there. I heard there were several hundred. There were several council members in attendance, but I'll let them identify themselves if they so wish to be so identified. But it's just a lot of fun, and Bloomington is a wonderful place to be, and I hope everyone gets out and enjoys these great community events.
Thank you very much. And let's see. Oh, Councilmember.
You're done?
Carrillo.
No, go ahead. Go. No, I don't want to ruin the order.
Okay.
I'll have to stay up all night about it.
Three things. Saturday.
Could you put your
Three things. Saturday, I attended an event called Queer Formative at Night Shop, organized by the Bloomington Normal Trans community. And it was a pride party centered on educating Blono friends and neighbors about the cultural and history of the LGBTQIA community. And so it was a wonderful event to show the inclusiveness of Bloomington. Secondly, I want to thank Sarah Bauer for hosting a listening session also this past Saturday morning for me. She made some great blueberry muffins, and also wanted to thank Jim Karch and all his staff. I've been sending him lots of emails recently, and he's always promptly responding and also responds to my constituents directly sometimes, so much appreciated.
Thank you. And last but not least, Alderwoman, Councilmember Carrillo.
Yeah, just want to wish everybody a happy Indigenous Peoples Day. I also wanted to shout out the Bed Blitz and the WBRP. The Artgasm Party was amazing, so huge shout out to Kara Peterson and Vicki Tilton. Yeah, they really know how to throw a party. Then I also had the pleasure of going to the cemetery walk yesterday, which was amazing. So much fun, such an important asset to our community, so really want to thank, because I know that takes a ton of volunteer work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and so thank you so much for those who helped put that together. And then finally, just a moment to just recognize our staff and the great work that they did, and a moment of relief and celebration as the State Farm building is sold, and also really want to thank all the people who came together for those listening sessions. I think that's exactly the way that we build community in a moment of crisis, so really appreciative of that. Want to shout out the Dia de los Muertos event on October 26th at the McLean County Museum of History. I will be painting faces, so if you want to be a sugar skull on October 26th, come see me at the McLean County Museum of History. And then finally, really want to thank all the members of the Cannabis Task Force who have been meeting weekly and working tirelessly to get something to us by next Monday. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Thank you very much. At this point, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Oh, wow. Okay. Made by Councilmember Crable, seconded by Councilmember Carrillo. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We're adjourned. Thanks.